Wowee, it's day 3 of my residency with the Centre for Dance Research. My name's Rosie Kay and I'm researching a new solo work, but of course virtually because we're currently in lockdown and I'm just in my little office. It's been an intensely personal day. It's been really quite moving and quite sad and quite revealing, and then hopefully I'm kind of trying to come out the other end and seeing the positive of it. Um, Today I decided that I'd look at the original Absolute Solo, which was a show I made, a triple bill of solo works I made and performed in 1999 at Edinburgh Festival, so exactly 21 years ago. There were 3 pieces, a short solo called Sinisterly Stupid, a solo called Patisserie, and a solo called Interlocking. And just when I went for my early morning walk, I remembered that the first piece actually was the practice-based solo from my dissertation in my final year at London Contemporary Dance School. And my dissertation was about Weimar dance and the kind of political instability of the Weimar Republic and how we can use dance to read the kind of concept of the new woman that was appearing in Germany at that time, particularly drawing on the work of Mary Wigman, Anita Berber and Valeska Gert. And so this solo was a response to that. So I watched the triple bill, and Sinisterly Stupid, it's only 3 minutes long, but I can see every bit of detail of the choreography in there and the musicality with Kurt Weill. And then Patisserie was really moving because it was, the text sounds like a kind of little monologue, but actually it's all taken exactly words spoken by women I interviewed in Poland when I was living there about how they felt about themselves and their appearance, because I noticed living in Poland in the 90s where I was a dancer that women took much greater care over their appearance and their presentation than we were doing in the West. And it was odd because it was a post-communist society. Women in some ways had more equal rights under communism, but yet the Polish women never went out the house without makeup on, and I sort of transformed from a kind of hip-hop girl into a much more sort of well-presented woman while living in Poland for 2 years. Anyway, so I really enjoyed these solos, and I kind of was sort of, recognising myself, I suppose, and recognising both the way I danced and also the way I constructed. And it was quite sort of nostalgic and quite funny as well. Anyway, I sat down and I read my dissertation from 1998, and I was really, I thought it was pretty good actually. And so I started looking at Mary Wigman again and watching videos and what exists of Valeska Gert. And I suddenly had this kind of horrible realisation that I'd kind of cut my early influences. So after making solo work, living in Poland, and being so inspired by Berlin, I eventually actually lived in Berlin, and I had a quite terrible time actually. I then moved to France, and I actually gave up dancing almost completely and ran a wine business with an ex-partner, and again it was an incredibly traumatic and difficult time for me. And then eventually I managed to get back to the UK. I ended up settling in Birmingham, and really since I moved to Birmingham in 2003, my life has been much more solid, much more stable. My work has been much more kind of for other people, company work. I haven't been looking at myself for a very, very long time. And there's a schism. There's the before Berlin, and then there's the after Berlin. And I hadn't realised what a huge part of my life Berlin had been until this traumatic time. And then I just shut it off. So interestingly, I've just been watching, I had a few days at Dance Hub the middle of last year, researching very first days of this solo. And actually it's really interesting because my starting point at the Dance Hub Residency was all the work I've made since I've lived in Berlin, in Birmingham. So it was looking at Honey, You're a Pig, Asylum, double points K, and trying to, and it's not very, it's not very inspiring. But when I kind of strip that away and I go into a kind of sort of more imaginative world, I'm clearly looking at the birth of my child. And then suddenly out of this pops a little bit of patisserie in this kind of solo world. And it made me really stop and think. I've been working on my body and my dancing body. I've been working on ideas. I'd really forgotten about me, who I am, and how deeply personal this discovery should be and is going to be. And I feel like I've sort of just joined a couple of dots here today, which has been very interesting. I'm going to try and see if I can share little bits and pieces. I don't really want to put the whole of this early work up, but yeah, it's time now, I think, for lunch and to get out into the sun. Thank you.